McElroy, Cubelic in the morning. It's Friday, October 3rd. A lot of good games this weekend. A lot of things to look forward to. Want to start to involve you. Want to open it up. Get into some of the phone calls. Get into some of the comments. We have Joe Cook coming up here in about 20 minutes. We also have Manny Navarro coming to us in about an hour and 15. Talk a little Miami, talk a little Florida State, talk some of the matchups coming up this weekend. Before we get into that, tell you about my friends at Bill Smith Buick GMC, the GMC Dealer of the Year, the national champion of GMC dealers. You can take the short drive up to Coleman and see what I'm talking about. The deals are off the charts good. The opportunities to save money are off the charts good. Like, you go get a GMC Sierra 1500 SLT 4x4, $67,770 is what you'd play here locally. You can go down to Bill Smith and get it for $52,770. It's deals like that that just you can't find anywhere else. It's deals like that that keep you coming back. That's why Bill Smith continues to deliver the most vehicles in the Southeast, and they continue to give you the best deals in the Southeast. There's a reason why 75% of their business is repeat customers, because you know the experience can't be beat when you go and shop with Andy Cole and Jonathan Yeager up there in Coleman at Bill Smith. Take the short drive to Coleman. You'll be glad you did. You can also shop online, have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com. 800-239-9569. Want to get to you. Where do you want to go? What games do you want to talk about? If you want to talk about Iowa State, Cincinnati, perfect. I'm your guy. Probably not a radio show host in the country that can talk Iowa State, Cincinnati as much as I can. You want to go there? Let's do it. You want to talk about Florida, Texas? I'm right here. Let's ride. You want to do Washington, Maryland? I'm right here. Let's roll. I'll tell you everything you need to know about that game. What's going to determine it? What's important? Key injuries on either side? What have you? 800-239-9569. We'll go next to Dr. Mel. Dr. Mel, how are you, my friend?
Hey, good morning, Greg. How are you this morning, sir?
Good, my friend. Thank you for calling.
Yes, sir. I hope you all are doing well. Thanks for taking my call. We do a little men's devotional Monday through Friday, and this morning we talked about out of the Old Testament, Nehemiah rebuilding the wall. Alabama, Coach DeBoer, and Ty Simpson are rebuilding the wall. And so it was a point was raised, and I couldn't help but think of the Bama Vandy game, is that, number one, to build a wall, you have to have a blueprint for the task at hand, and then a battle plan. But I'm like you. I'm so proud of Ty Simpson. And, of course, he will tell you that it's not about him put his team on his back. But this the deal, Greg. This game been circled on the calendar, and people can talk about it's going to be high scoring or whatever. I look for the defense to lock it down. Ty will have them rolling. And although Pave is bringing his own personal cheerleader, Manziel, I can guarantee him it won't be like when he came to T-Town years ago. That's my little spiel. You all do a great job. God bless you. God keep you.
You know what's funny, Dr. Mel? Hang on for 1 second. It's like, are you still with us, Dr. Mel? Nope.
No, I think he had a patient or something.
All good. There you go. Well, it's kind of amazing. Like, it's a little bit, he kind of talked about, biblically, like how he's rebuilding the wall, doing everything that you need to do. It's a little bit like in Joshua early on when the Israelites are kind of circling, and they're kind of going camping, and they circle the Jericho 7 times or whatnot, and they blow the trumpets and the walls come down. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the walls came down really, really quickly this year. It's kind of amazing because everybody freaked out on the Florida State game. Upon further review and preparing for that game, I went back and watched it yesterday. It was not good. It was not good. But there were also 6 or 7 plays in that game where, hey, a guy makes a play here or there. It might be a completely different outcome. And I really just don't think after watching it, even though that was the one game, that was the one piece of sample size that we had to draw conclusions, I think at the time, and I think we tried to quell concern. I don't know how effective it was, but try to say, hey, look, this is game 1. Let's see where they go. Let's see how they respond, what have you. The response has been beautiful. Everyone can tell you that. But I just think it was kind of a weird game. as opposed to some indictment on the overall structure of the organization, it was just kind of a weird game. Like, you run to a hot quarterback that can't miss. You give up a couple third and longs through the air. You have a couple penalties that extend drives. You have a couple challenges that happen throughout the game. You're in a hostile environment. People that want to absolutely rip your head off because you kept them out of the playoff a couple years ago. Like, it's kind of just a perfect storm. And like I said, not an excuse. And it doesn't mean anything if they go out and continue to perform at a lower level than they're capable of. But I don't know, man. Like, I think the right guy's in charge of Tuscaloosa. I think Ty's doing a phenomenal job. And I think there's a lot of things to be excited about and a lot of things to look forward to with this unit. And it starts Saturday in showcasing the maturity and the growth in that department. Like, how is the level of execution? How close, how cognizant are they of the details? How disciplined are they in their defensive gap control? How efficient are they in the passing game? Can they run the football? How committed are they to running the football? Can they maintain their level of aggression offensively? And guys that are kind of blossoming on defense, can they take the next step? Because I got to be honest with you, I think there's a couple guys on defense that are starting to blossom right before our eyes. Like, I'm pretty optimistic about it. Yanze Pierre is a good example. Like, Yanze Pierre, to me, for Alabama, number 42, is playing really good football. That guy is really balling out. And I think he's got a chance here in the next couple weeks. He's going to be at a pretty good spot. That young man can play. That young man can really play. 800-239-9569 is the number. We want to take it anywhere. Looking forward, by the way, to interacting with you. Whatever game you want to talk about, we are here for you, and we look forward to allowing you guys to kind of steer the show in whatever direction you guys want to take it. Another game to me that's kind of flying under the radar this weekend, and it's not one that's going to like be the most sexy matchup in the history of the world, but I'm kind of beyond the quote sexy matchups. Sexy matchups are for the birds. Like, I want good matchups. Like, I want matchups that are going to require high-level execution.
Sturdy,
sturdy, steady,
thick matchup.
Reliable. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I want matchups to like be like my truck. Like that I so happen to get at Bill Smith Buick GMC. I don't care about Lamborghinis anymore.
Back in the day, you may have wanted a sports car, but now, you know what? That Honda, that Civic, that reliable GMC Acadia, you know what? I'm digging that right now.
You say that jokingly. I'm dead serious when I say that. Like, there was a time in my life in which my dream car was an Aston Martin. I was 21.
Yeah, I'd say that's reasonable.
You know, yeah. Why not? You know, why not spend $250,000 on a nice vehicle? Like, what are we doing? Like, to me, it's like looking back at it, it's like I can't believe I cared that much about that. I can't believe that was like my dream car. Still, by the way, is my dream car. Just know now I would never buy it. So I'm perfectly content with my GMC Sierra. I love it, and I might never not drive a truck. And I might never not, you know, I guess you could take the boy out of Texas. You can't take the Texas out of the boy. Like, I'm going to have trucks and boots. If I hit the Mega Millions and won $1.8 billion, my vehicle's not changing and my shoes aren't changing. Those are going to be the two things I wear most of the time. I wear tennis shoes. I wear my Hokas when I'm working out. You guys have seen those.
Yeah. That's
good look. You know you like those.
Good and terrible. Okay.
You know you're a dad when you have Hokas. All right, Damian, your thoughts from a peripheral view of Mississippi State A&M.
My biggest question mark is, can Mississippi State bring it? Can they bring the juice because of how it finished against Tennessee last week? Because if they can make Marcel Reed one-dimensional, it plays into their favor because he's not as consistent as a thrower as you would like him to be, or you kind of want to expect him to be. And also for Texas A&M, what's the identity going to be? Are you finally going to say, you know what, we're not going to make Marcel Reed throw it 42 times this game. We're actually going to stick to running the football because of the backs that you have, and it seems as though they're starting to gel. So it's what style can Mississippi State make this game to be where they can? I mean, they're confident. They're confident. Their offense seems like it's starting to click at the right time, where they were missing a lot of these passes because Blake Shapen was out last year. Now it feels as though, okay, he's got the groove. Can you keep him upright? And if you want to make this a track meet, you probably can.
Saybear, you think Mississippi State has a chance on the road?
Absolutely. They've shown that they compete with the upper half of this league. We kind of all felt going into the season that okay, that now that Vanderbilt's not the doormat they are anymore, and Kentucky has shown some life, it's probably Mississippi State's turn to be at the bottom of the league. But the Arizona State win, the way that they conducted themselves in the Tennessee game showed us that, okay, like, this team is for real. They will compete. Now, sadly, I do think they lose the game, but it's not going to be the easy win that you expected it to be coming into the season. I expect this game to play – I expect this A&M Mississippi State game to be a lot like the A&M Auburn game, that A&M will clearly be the better team, but – and I'm not saying Mississippi State's not just going to be – inept on both sides of the ball like Auburn was, but it'll be close enough to where Mississippi State won't win it, but they have the opportunities to.
I think if they can force a couple turnovers, I really believe this. If they can force a couple turnovers, I think they got a real shot. Now, all that being said, I think there's a real chance. Like, I'm a huge A&M believer, have been all year. Super optimistic about what I've seen from them. But at the same time, like, I still think anyone that is -2 in the turnover margin is going to have their hands full. Like, really, really struggle with some of those situations. It's going to be a beast. Doesn't mean they can't do it. Just means it's going to be a beast. And I think Mississippi State, I think they can provide some offense. I believe they can score. I don't think it'll be easy, but I believe they can score. And if they score and get +2 turnover margin, not that dissimilar. But guess what? That was kind of the recipe for Bama and Vanderbilt. Was it not? Last year? Vanderbilt scored and you got +2 turnover margin and win the game by 5. I think Mississippi State could do the exact same thing as a near 3-touchdown underdog. Score, +2 turnover margin, make it interesting for sure. So we'll see how it goes. But I like Mississippi State. I just wonder if last weekend was kind of the wind out of the sails. Like, that's my only concern. Emotionally, to have it on your racket like that and to not finish, I just don't want there to be a hangover. Now, they don't feel like a hangover type of team. Do they to y'all? Like, they don't feel that way. But that would be my biggest fear in kind of approaching it with the Bulldogs this weekend, would be the challenges of getting back on that horse after you fell off at the end last week.
To me, that maybe in the past I would have felt that way about Mississippi State, but what I've seen from them this year, I think they're going to go in there and compete. I just don't think it's going to be enough.
Yeah. We'll see. We shall see. All right, when we come back, we're going to have Joe Cook join us. I'm really curious to get his perspective here. He does a great job covering the Texas Longhorns. And I want to know what's up with the Horns this year, because I've traditionally loved that team. It has not been as pretty as I want it to be this year. So we'll ask him what the deal is next on Mac and Cube. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning on Jocks 94.5. Appreciate everybody being with us. Excellent show today so far, and we continue to roll along here in hour number 2. If you missed any of the show, you can always download it wherever you get your podcast. Just check out Mac and Cube. While you're there, leave a rating, leave a review, leave all that wonderful stuff. It'd be awesome. And you can download the show from anywhere. So if you missed any of it, you can always go back and check it out. You can always check out our visit with Stanford Steve. You can always check out the other aspects of the show as well. Before we move along to Joe Cook, help us preview the Texas-Florida game, I want to tell you about Crocker Moving Services, our local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys, and you can trust them in your home. Whether you need your whole home packed up and moved, your company headquarters moves across country, or you just want them to come rearrange your living room, these guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you purchase and need to get to your home, so call or visit them online today for a free quote. The website's crockermovingservices.com. That's crockermovingservices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Services for your next move. All right, we go next to Joe Cook, who does a great job covering the Texas Longhorns for Inside Texas. That's the On3 Sports affiliate, covering the Horns. Joe, how are you, my friend?
Doing good, guys. Thanks again for having me on.
Oh, absolutely. No, happy to do it. This to me is a fascinating game now. Like, I'm not really sure exactly how to interpret what I'm making of the Texas Longhorns right now. I will admit, I love them in the preseason, picked them to win the national championship, have been somewhat underwhelmed with what I've seen up to this point. How should we be feeling about the Horns at this moment?
Yeah, I think it's perfectly justified to look at them with some cautious with a cautious outlook. You know, a game against Ohio State at Columbus, that's a one-score game. You know, they looked like they did, but it was still only a one-score game. That was a close game. It was kind of decided by a handful of plays, one of them being the one long pass and the other being a couple long passes not converted for Texas. So, you know, you see that, and it's like, well, you're in a measuring stick game, and you see how you measure up, but that doesn't mean anything's lost in the 12-team era. But then you go and watch them against a UTEP team that I think, you know, people can look at and see, yeah, they're a little bit better than last year. But then it's like, okay, hold on. This is UT Austin versus UT El Paso. And Arch Manning shouldn't be missing, you know, 10 straight throws against that defense, especially when they're playing group of 5 defenses that are like, you know what? Well, you don't want to give up the 50-yard bomb. If you can dink and dunk us 10 yards down the field, well, we'll try our hand at that and try to get out of here with a respectable score. But it was even tougher for Arch. And, you know, I've heard a lot of people talk about just the quarterback issues for so many different of these high-profile names where, you know, earlier in the preseason, we were kind of talking about like this guy, 2026 draft. And for some of the quarterbacks, I think when you look to South Carolina, I've heard people talk, it's structural. It's the offensive coordinator. Where with Arch, it's like, well, he's just missing throws. And, you know, his reads look fine. His process looks fine as far as like where he's looking. It's just that he got sped up. Like he was just playing tight. And luckily he came out against a Sam Houston team that I didn't see what they did against New Mexico State last night, but I thought they were on 0-12 watch. So maybe they got to 1-11 watch. But he came
they
out.
They are 0-12 watch still.
They are on 0-12 watch.
And it wasn't competitive.
Oh, man. But, you know, he does what he needs to do against probably the worst team on their schedule, gets a bye. And then the real challenge is going to be, you know, this weekend. They're facing a Florida defense that has, you know, kind of taken up all the responsibility there in Gainesville for looking respectable, if you want to call it that, with a 1-3 team. But, you know, is this when the dam breaks? Can Arch Manning break the dam? We'll see what happens, because there's a lot of psychology when one side of the ball is carrying a 1-3 team and, you know, has them on the precipice of being 1-4.
Yeah, it's, I think, a very interesting spot. I do think the bye week, though, could not have come at a better time. You get a little taste of success, and now all of a sudden, maybe Arch is a different guy. He showed a little swagger, frankly, in the Sam Houston State game. Not sure it was the right place to show swagger, but some swagger is better than no swagger. So looking at Arch, and you referenced his mechanics, completely agree with everything you said. Are they optimistic that they've corrected some of those things here in the bye week, or is it still very much up in the air?
I think they're confident, especially after what they saw against Sam Houston. If y'all remember that first throw, kind of that crosser from the bottom of the screen to the top of the screen hits DeAndre Moore, but it's a 0 yards after catch throw, and everybody's like, "Oh man, he should still be running." And then a couple plays later, I think they call a designed run, and Sark has even talked about how his offense is not one that loves designed runs, but he's kind of looking at number 16 back there and thinking, maybe I need to do this a little bit more, not only just to, pick up some yards as our offensive line, replaces 4 starters still, but maybe that's what gets his head back into the game. And Sark's mentioned, maybe on that script, putting a designed run in there, getting Arch a lick or two, and then he's like, okay, I'm playing football now, and that's what helps Arch out. So I think there's confidence on that front. And with the way the Texas offensive line has worked, I've been talking to our Gators on 3 site, and it's like, what running back do we need to look out for? And I kind of mentioned, that Arch Manning guy, like that's a part of the run game that Texas is going to have to use, just because even if they get Trey Wisner back, and even if guys like Jarrett Gibson, Christian Clark start to make some progress, the offensive line's had enough of a problem with run blocking to where you're going to have to kind of do the extra man thing and take advantage of that to make some hay. Not overdo it, not 15, 20 carries or stuff like that, but use it as a little bit more than just a constraint.
Yeah, visiting with Joe Cook. He is the managing editor of Inside Texas. That's the On3 sports site that covers the Longhorns, and they do a great job. All the coverage of the Horns is just so good. Like I think Texas does a great job. All you guys just kind of covering the sport, covering the Longhorns, bigger picture. And as maybe like a Texas guy, maybe I just read y'all stuff more often. That might have something to do with it too. But it's great stuff. I always appreciate it. Let's continue on though. When you talk about the fan base, and that's like, we know as someone that was in that contingent of people for the better part of a decade and change, what is the current temperature of the Texas fan base?
Yeah, I think they look at the number 9 by their name, and they're probably thinking, you know what, that looks about right. They were more than, I think most people would say, like, they were pretty happy to be that preseason number 1, but they understood maybe a little bit of the pressure that came with it. The temperature is they know that this defense has got things going. Yeah, and I know that the G5 teams that they played are what they are, but none of those teams had any desire to try to block Texas for more than 2 seconds. They were just trying to get in, get out, and have a respectable score. And even so, like, they were dominating them. And that's what you got to do against those teams. And if it's not for one fantastic play by Carnell Tate, and then maybe 2 or 3 penalties, those are kind of what drove Ohio State to their points. And granted, it was Julian Saint's first start, but then we've seen what Julian Saint has done against some lesser competition and just utterly demolished them. So there's a lot of confidence in the defense. There's a lot of confidence in just the guys that they have back there. They play about 15, 16 guys in that rotation, on defense. So they feel good about the depth. The offense is just, what are we going to see? And I think last year and the year before even, especially after Jonathan Brooks was lost for the year, the run game has just kind of been average. If you, I know if you box score hunt, you may look at, Michigan last year, and you may look at Oklahoma last year, and you'll see like, oh, they had over 100 rushing yards and stuff like that. But there were, and granted, the chunk plays count, but it was a lot of chunk plays. It was the rest of it was a lot of 2 yards to carry. And then when you look at Texas A&M, which a little bit of an outlier, but you go Georgia, Arizona State, Ohio State, that run game wasn't there against light competition. So you're kind of wondering, like, okay, can this run game get going? And if not, is Sark just going to have to kind of do what he did last year and use screens, short, intermediate, deep passing as just the way to vary things against opposing defenses? Now, with Trey Wisner, if he can get going, if he can get what's blocked, what the run's blocked for, they'll probably be in pretty good shape on offense, at least against Florida. Different story against Oklahoma, but they just want to see the run game because there's faith that someone with the last name Manning, who's, kind of family stock and trade, depends on throwing the football, is going to be fine throwing the football, but they want to see a little bit more from the run game, and especially against, another defensive front that's got some good players there.
Yeah, I think it makes perfect sense. I do think you're a little bit hindered in the run game sometimes, like last year, for example, with Quinn Ewers, like not a run threat. So like the numbers statistically with how often teams are running the quarterback, you see some teams with heavily inflated rushing numbers. When in reality, they're not great running the football. They kind of get by with smoke and mirrors. And then the teams like Texas, who kind of have to earn it because their quarterback isn't a threat, that makes it a lot more difficult. Joe, we'll get you out of here with this. In the event, just saying, totally hypothetical here. In the event in which Texas goes to the Swamp and loses, we all know it's like cancel the season mode. The world's over, right? We've all been there as fans. What is the reaction around the program and specifically around Steve Sarkisian?
Yeah, it's if that happens, if you leave the Swamp at 3-2, I can talk about how the margin for error becomes 0. You got to win out. Only one SEC loss, all that stuff, things like that. But if you go and lose to that team, and it is a challenge. It is going to be 90,000 people probably engaged for at least a little bit, depending on what happens. But if you go and lose that game against a team that, with your defense, that means their offense put up enough points to win the game against a defense that just doesn't give up points. And that's, a little bit concerning. That means that the Texas offense just still doesn't have it together. So, yeah, you can talk about 3-2, and I'm sure if that happens, Sark would come out and say, like, well, season's still in front of us, big game next week, only one loss. And, yeah, that's all true. But if you're doing that against a Florida team a fourth loss has to end Billy Napier's tenure, because then it's all kind of gone down the drain. If you lose to a team that's on the ropes like that, and you can't score more than they can, or they outscore you, that type of thing, you kind of look at what the rest of this year is, and you kind of have to stand and realize that the college football national championship just might not be in the cards. It doesn't kill your playoff chances. I know that's kind of a conversation that's going on in South Bend right now.
Sure.
I have some good friends who cover Notre Dame, and they're like, what happens if they win out? Well, yeah, they're probably in. With Texas, it's like, what happens if they win out? Well, to win out, you got to beat Oklahoma, Kentucky on the road, Mississippi State on the road, a good Vanderbilt, Georgia, Arkansas, whatever, and then Texas A&M. Like, that's a tough slate to go through. If you do that, then okay, you got to probably beat Georgia again, or maybe you beat, maybe you meet Alabama or something like that. Like, then with Sark, it becomes, you have had the number 1 rated quarterback in, recruiting rankings, and those are recruiting rankings evaluating high school prospects, often high school juniors, for the last few years. And yet the offense is kind of what's held your program back. What's going on here?
Yeah.
And I think there is a segment of the Texas fan base that looks at that Jimbo Fisher stat about the 2013 national title being the last one with play caller, and they look at Ryan Day hiring Bill O'Brien and Chip Kelly and winning the national championship and think, well, time for Sark to do that. And I think that's a vocal portion. I'm not in that, line of thinking. I still think Sark is a fantastic play caller, and it's not like the rest of the program's kind of faltered around him, like the team that Texas is about to play this weekend. But, if your ceiling if you keep reaching your ceiling with the investment you've put into the program, be it NIL, be it revenue sharing, be it, the dang quarterback position, and as far as you can get is, quarter or semifinals, or this year not even make it if they lose, as that would pretend, then it's like, okay, what's going on? So it's pressure. It's not, like they're going to gather together $50 million to get rid of them. Everybody still really loves what Sark has done here, especially in the wake of the 2010s and, that first season. But it's like, okay, if you're trying to breathe this air, how do you make sure you're operating at efficiency, and maybe can we get you something to, I guess, increase lung capacity? It would be a good way to complete the metaphor.
Yeah, it'd be really, really interesting. Joe, fantastic stuff. Are you going to Gainesville?
I will be. It's kind of a tradition for me to get out of town during Austin City Limits weekend and go see the Longhorns.
Oh, is that this weekend?
So
oh my!
It's this weekend and next, and then you got the F1 race at the end of the month. So October's pretty busy, and There will be no Longhorn games in Austin throughout that whole month. So a difficult stretch for Texas, even if, one of those teams may be Kentucky. And, Mississippi State looks a lot more difficult now with
No doubt.
the way Jeff Lebby gave a scare to the Vols.
That's a very difficult. I mean, we've seen Lebby call plays en route to a victory against the Horns before. He can do it. He's a really good coach. So terrific stuff. Really look forward to it. Enjoy games. Have you been before?
First time, so it'll be a lot of fun. It's kind of a place that I don't think any Texas fan has seen unless you're a little infant in Gainesville in December of 1940.
Oh yeah, that would have been probably a little before your time. But that'll you're gonna love it. It's a really cool place. Like you could just when you just walk in a venue and you're like, all right, this is how it's supposed to feel. Like we're in the SEC now. Like you're gonna feel like you're in the SEC the second you walk into that building. And you want to talk about a stadium that is just flat out vertical. I mean, just straight up. And the room between the sideline and the walls and the fans feels like, especially on the visitor sideline, depending on how the game is going, it feels like there's about 2 yards between the fans and the field. So there's not a lot of room down there. Highly recommend you going onto the field and checking it out because it is absolutely worth going down there, sweating a little bit en route to the field, but it is absolutely worth it. It's really, really cool. So enjoy your time, man. It's a blast, and good luck to the Longhorns.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thank you, guys.
All right, Joe Cook, great stuff there. Talking little Horns, Texas, guys, I got to be honest, man. I'm watching them closely this year. And I had a buddy of mine text me like, "You're such a Texas hater." I was like, "Dude, I'm not a hater. I'm acknowledging fact." Like, I don't know how you can watch Texas right now and feel really good about what you've seen. And it's along the offensive line. The defense is great. Love the defense. Really do. Really, really like the defense. But there's something offensively right now that's just a little out of sorts. The receivers have been relatively underwhelming compared to what my preseason expectations were. Arch, his mechanics and fundamentals have been a little out of sorts. You could tell the game is moving really fast for him. Pressing a little bit, feeling some pressure, I'm sure. And as someone that went through a bit of a slump, a 4-game slump, 3-game slump in 2009, like I remember what that was like. It was hard. You got to play your way out of it. And guess what? The bye week for me was instrumental in being able to kind of get my head right, go against the defense, focused on my fundamentals, focus on my eye discipline, get back to the drawing board with some of the checks and audibles. Like I was good in the run game, but as far as seeing the defense, I didn't see it great for a 3 or 4 game span. It was not what it needed to be. So the bye week for us in 2009 came at the perfect time. Starting with LSU in 2009 all the way through, much, much better player. But they're from, I don't know, Ole Miss through South Carolina, Tennessee, did not play well. So I've been there before. And hopefully Arch here now can play his way out of it after the bye week and after doing probably a little bit of self-scout here over the last 10, 12 days or so. All right, when we come back, more of your phone calls. 800-239-9569. Also want to get into the business of college football and how we are cooking with gas, guys. The numbers I'm going to share with you here in a moment are going to blow your mind about the popularity of the sport and how we continue to grow in tremendous, tremendous ways. I'll explain next on Mac and Cube. We're going to hit this again here in a little bit, just so I can give you a little update with how outrageous college football's popularity has gotten, specifically the SEC. The SEC right now is just flat out dominating ratings. I mean, just absolutely dominating ratings. 10.4 million for Alabama's upset of Georgia last week. 10.4 million. That's right behind a 6.7 million viewership for Ole Miss and LSU. And remember, Bama and Georgia were going up against Oregon, Penn State, and they beat them by 2.5 million. The numbers amongst those between the ages of 18 and 34, up 15%. There have been 6 games in the audience of 10 million or more this year. As of last year, this time, there was 1. Sports content accounts for 22% of broadcast and cable viewing time among adults ages 25 to 54. That's a key demographic, by the way. And it only accounts for 15% of programming. The numbers around college football right now are astronomical. And it's not slowing down. The sport is getting better, it's getting more popular, and it's getting more widely consumed. So we'll talk a little bit more about that and the positivity surrounding college football here in a little bit. But we have a special guest, super special, a guy that we don't hear from very often. And we really, really need to get him in. And we do not want to put him on hold because he's probably had some type of travel challenges this morning. I don't even know if he has or not, but there's probably been something. He's Cole Cubelic, Jocks 94.5, SEC Network fame, has a show on Jocks called Mac and Cube. You got to check it out, 7 to 10 a.m. Phenomenal show. You can also download his podcast. It's The Cube Show. And another podcast, Tuesday Night Date Night. So he's all over the place, covered up the most popular man and the busiest man in sports media. And we welcome him in now. Cole, how are you this morning? Thanks for joining us.
I'm a little tired, but I'm doing great. How are you guys? No big travel issues today, other than
none.
I haven't even told you this. You're gonna hate this. I started checking a bag the last couple weeks.
Oh God!
And it's just I just can't get everything in it for some of these trips. It's just impossible. Even with the giant backpack, I'm like, I'll just check the bag and leave it. Who cares? I'll be done with it. And I guess you got to get there, like an hour before your flight. You're going to check your bag. So I'll pull up. I think we boarded at 5:45, and the lady's like, "Yeah, you can't give us that bag right now." And I was just, okay, well, I'm flying, so I'll just take it with me and just put it on the seat next to me in the plane. She goes, I don't know. And I said, okay, well, the bag's going with me. And she was like, how are you going to check in? And I said, well, I've already checked in on the app. She's like, good luck. So I got to the gate, and the lady was really nice. And she's like, I'll just check it here, and they'll send it to baggage claim at Houston. And I said, okay, cool, thanks. So here we are.
Boom. I did not know it was an hour. I thought it was 45 minutes. But I'm kind of Are we back?
We're back. I'm not
All
sure
right,
what that
good.
was.
Because
what were you guys hearing?
I just heard some Jets and Giants conversation. I don't even know.
Much more compelling than whatever you and I are going to talk about. Let's get going into that. Do the Jets?
I kind of wanted to stay with it.
I think that's the real question here.
I have no. Did you hear what I just heard?
I heard that. Yeah.
That was
Justin
wild.
Fields, quarterback of the future. Yes or no? I'm today on Mac and Cube. Let's get it.
Love that. Yeah, who doesn't want to talk about that? Let's get into your game first and foremost, because we haven't had a ton of time to dive into it today. We talked about it briefly. What do you think is the key for Mississippi State to kind of keep it interesting? Because I think they can. I think there's a path, but I am a little curious, just your thoughts, having studied it the last couple of days.
I think the key is not getting worn down, which is a little bit difficult. From a strategic standpoint, Greg, they need to go fast, I think, to neutralize that defensive line, that front seven. They need to spit it out quick. They need to spread them out. They need to at least make them respect what can happen out on the perimeter, because then that quick kicking run game that gets north and south in a hurry that you and I have talked about becomes more effective. And I think it slows down some of the stunts. I think it slows down some of the pressures when you can operate at a tempo that sort of traps the defense. I don't think Levy's going to want to live there. We meet with him tonight, so I haven't really had a chance to talk to him yet. But I think he understands, hey, this is something that's going to have to be a part of what we do. And then just, you and I have talked about it, there was a little bit of a newfound commitment to the run game for A&M against Auburn, and it looked good. The two variations of the zone play that they ran, I think can kind of keep you off balance. And that front seven is aggressive. They'll come after you. There's good linebacker run through. They'll play hard. They'll run through blocks. But I've seen them get worn down just a little bit, and they don't rotate a ton of guys. So I would say second half in this game, if it is tight, if it is close, that defensive line, that front seven for State, they've got to stay fresh, and they've got to continue to play the run. I'm not overly concerned about the explosive play part of it. I think you're probably going to get a few of those from each of these teams in this game no matter what, but they can't let A&M start to really control things on the ground in the second half, or that's going to be a problem.
What do you think? I said +2 turnover margin. They got to have +2 turnovers, I think. Absolutely has to. So that I feel pretty confident in. And then I also think they have to score. Like, I think their path to victory is not that dissimilar to where things are with Vanderbilt, for example, last year. Like, I know it's a very different style of offensive attack, but you got to capitalize on every opportunity. You got to be great on third down. And I think you need a +2 turnover margin. That's kind of the pathway, I think, for State. I think I could do it. I just don't think it's going to be very easy. Is that fair?
Yeah, no, totally fair. And I think it's more of the maybe not as much of they have to be +2, is just they cannot get behind in the turnovers. And if that's the case, then I don't think it's going to be a contest. I don't think it'll be a close game. I don't know if it needs to be 4-2 or 2-0 in favor of Mississippi State, but if they just can't be down in the turnovers. I think if neither team were to turn the football over, can they be competitive? Probably. The one thing too that I'm anxious to ask Levy about is Blake Shapen sort of on the move. When he has a chance to throw the ball away, he has a chance to run. There's a little bit of indecisiveness there. And I'm wondering, I'm going to ask Jeff, what are you guys coaching him to do here? Are you guys coaching him, hey, we need to go ahead and get rid of the ball? Or we want you to go ahead and tuck the ball, get north and south, try to run? Because there are a couple of plays they're coming off reads, they're coming off fakes. You've seen them, you know what I'm talking about. And then he decides to go try to create after that. And it's like, in my opinion, specifically against these defensive ends, and a guy like Torrin York, when he decides to pressure, like he hits the gas and he's going to get there in a hurry. You got to make a decision now. It can't be some sort of an RPO and then you pull it out and you're looking at the receiver. You don't like to throw it. Okay, well, now I'm going to drift to the right and just try to find something and create something. That's not going to work against this defense. So being a little bit more decisive when Blake Shapen doesn't have what he initially wants, that 1 and that 2, when he comes off of that, I think he's got to make a decision now. It's got to be throw the ball away or tuck the ball and run. He can't have this continuous just kind of slowly leave the pocket, look downfield, look to the flat, maybe run, maybe throw. I think that could be very costly for Mississippi State if he tries to live that life in this game.
Yeah, I'm really interested in kind of how they're going to run it. Balance, run, pass. You got to be balanced, I think. But I also don't know at the same time, like, if balance is actually going to work. Because if I'm State, I'm like, if I'm A&M, like, I'm kind of playing sound up front because I don't want to get gashed a little bit because of how Levy will use it. So I'm kind of playing a little bend, don't break. And then in the red zone, I'm condensing because I know at the end of the day, like, the thing that scares me the most are the catch and runs for Craver and Kipsione. Like, that scares me to death. Defensively, if I'm State.
Well, the other part too about running the ball, Greg, is with A&M's defense. If you go look at a lot of the bigger runs that Mississippi State has had, they're catching you a lot of the times. Like a couple of the big Arizona State runs were runs that hit backside, and they caught Arizona State in a slant, and they slanted into the play, and the play has a really nice design to be able to cut back quickly. And the backs are really good at doing that. These backs are so decisive for Mississippi State. It's why I love watching them run. It is get north and south now, or it's a little bit of a delay left, right, and then they know where they want to hit it and they go. There's not a lot of wishy-washy, second-guessing where the ball needs to hit. And they have plays that are designed to hit backside. I think they coach it that way. I've talked to Jeff about it before, actually. They know when a defense is tilting a little bit that, hey, this thing's probably going to hit behind that backside tackle, and so they're gonna run it that way, play it that way. That's how the vision's going to work for the back. So I'll be interested to see how aggressive A&M is up front. I'm with you. I don't think they need to be. Like, why would you be? But how many times have we said that the last 2 years about this defense going into a game where you don't need to do that? You don't have to do that. And last year it was, well, they felt like they needed to overcome some personnel issues, which I don't know how anybody thought that their D-line had personnel issues last year, but they would stay super aggressive up front. They would continue to move. It's almost that Oklahoma conversation that we have, that you look at them and you say, you could absolutely demolish this team just playing 4 down and playing a base read defense the entire time. But they don't do that. They're still going to be super aggressive. They're still going to go out there and try to make people pay. And it's just kind of who they are and what they do. This is a run scheme that I think can find more yards against your movement maybe than if you were to play them straight up.
For sure. Very, very, very interesting. Going to be a great game. Look forward to watching you on it. Tell the boys we say hello and safe driving, dude.
Did you pick Miami or Florida State?
I'm taking Miami, but close.
I got a text earlier today that said, tell Greg I think he's one of the smartest 3 voices in college football. And this person was obviously listening to the show, so they knew I wasn't there. So what, were you being accused of being a dumb college football personality earlier today?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Well, no one's called in and said that.
Okay. I couldn't listen in the air, and I was like, well, what kind of accusations are being thrown around here? I feel like I'm not upset that I'm missing this.
I don't know. I'm not sure what would have led to that kind of response from anyone. No idea. But it's been a good show so far. I've had some fun. Got a lot of more fun stuff to do here in the next hour and 8 minutes before we kick it off.
All right. Well, you have fun on your game, and just remember, be nice to Bama. Just remember that when you're calling your game this weekend.
I will try my hardest not to forget that.
That's your new mantra.
Yes, 100%. Always be nice to everybody. Everybody love everybody. ELE for sure. Good stuff, dude. Drive safe. We'll see you on the call Saturday night on
Sounds
SEC
good.
Network,
okay.
Mississippi State at Texas A&M. All right, when we come back, we will finish up that conversation briefly before we get to hour number 3. It's Mac and Cube. Can fix it. They are the foundation repair specialist here in the area. They're the local experts when it comes to crawl space, basement, concrete solutions, and of course, foundation repair. Here in Alabama, there's so many factors that can lead to foundation problems in your home: soil shifting, uneven ground, moisture, weather, lots, just including the age of your home too. So if you're noticing concrete sinking or uneven driveways and walkways, if you're noticing moisture, musty smells, or wood rot in the crawl space, if there's gaps between the crown molding, baseboards, and or around doors and windows, go to Cantey, Cantey, canfixit.com. They'll get you taken care of. They offer free inspections and estimates so homeowners know exactly what's going on under their house, and their work is backed by a lifetime transferable warranty. Cantey, Cantey, canfixit.com, or you can call them at 205-509-3991.